Welcome back to a new deep dive video on this channel, and on this occasion is the K.O II. Everything on this guide is in chapters, so if you look at the description or the timeline, you can jump to a section or skip the ones you don't want. If you like all of this, please like and subscribe. This channel is supported by viewers only. If you want to buy me a coffee to say thanks and help the channel keep going on, you can. You have links at the description for PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon. And okay, so let's begin. The first thing that you need to learn is about how this works behind the scenes. You have projects, you have patterns and scenes. How can you navigate them? This device can hold up to 64 megabytes in samples, or you can use the 999 slots. You choose a group, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and inside of each group, you can assign a sample, a sound, to one of the 12 pads that you have going on. On each group, you need to create a pattern, and once you have patterns going on, you need to create a scene, and then just, play back. Alright, so let's do it. First, you need to choose a project. This is how it works. You have 9 different projects. If you go to main and you hold it, notice it says S. So this is this scene. We're gonna learn about this in a minute. So you have 9 different projects. When you press and hold, it's going to tell you where you're standing. In this case, I'm standing on the project number 1. If I press 1, it's going to say P1 and it's loading project number 1. And you can have up to 9. If I go to 9 and press the number 9, press and hold, it's going to load the project number 9. And notice while I'm keep holding the main, it's showing you the project that you have loaded. I'm going to go back to the number 1, press and hold. By default, from factory, the projects 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they have sounds. You do have sounds from factory on all the different groups. If I load the project number 8, you're going to see that we have no samples at all. I'm going to go to the number 1, hold main, press 1, and then just hold it. We're standing on the project number 1. And then you have the A, B, C, and D, and they are called groups. Each group can hold up to 12 different sounds. Now, by convention, the group A is drums, the B is the basses, right? So if we play them back, we can see that they are drums. Then we have different bass sounds. And then the group C is going to be for melodies. And then the group number D, by default from factory, is completely empty. But this one is for loops and other samples. This is not a rule. You can organize all your different samples as you see fit. Now I'm going to go to main, just press it, and I'm going to load the project number 5. I have something ready for you now. If I play this, it's going to give me, let's just record a tiny little arrangement right here. And I did this just to show you how it works. We will create one from the scratch in a minute. Now each group can play a pattern. It remembers up to 99 patterns. So if I stand on the group number A and just play it back, the number A, the group A, remembers 99 patterns. So if I press and hold, it's going to tell me which pattern I have. It's telling me group A, you're playing the pattern number 1. If I go to the B and press and hold, it's pattern number 1 of the group B. And then, same for C and the same for D. So yeah, when you're standing on a project, each of the groups can hold different patterns, and then you just combine them as you see fit. If I play it back again, the group number A has, the drum sounds. This one has a bass in the back, and this one has a couple of notes. And as you can see, all are playing the number 1. What happens if I change them? So you can press and hold, and then the plus and the minus will change the patterns. If I go to the number 2, it's playing the group A or pattern 2 on the group number A. And then if I go to B, we are still playing the number 1, so the patterns are independent when we are talking about groups. And maybe I can go to the group number B, hold it, change it to the number 2, and then go to the number C, and just change to a different pattern. And just go back and forward as much as we want. Right, so this is how it works. You load one of the projects. Inside, you will load all your different sounds for all your different groups, and each group will be playing a pattern. And you can, of course, play different patterns right here. Now, if you go to a pattern that has nothing, if I play it back, notice that we have nothing on the drums. I only have something on the pattern number 2 and the pattern number 1 and nothing else. So that's it pretty much. Now, the next thing is going to be scenes. just like you would get on Ableton or Bitwig or Machine or so on. You have scenes right here. Now holding the main button, it will tell you on which scene you're standing. And then while you're holding the main, the plus and the minus will just, take you to different scenes. It will only take you to scenes that you have created. Now for this example, I've created 2 different scenes. You cannot navigate to a scene that doesn't exist. You can have 99 scenes per project. Now, what is the point of having a scene? So when I press and hold, I can go to the scene number 1. Now, when we are standing on the scene number 1, I need to choose which patterns are going to be playing on the number 1. So, for example, I could be playing the pattern number 2 on the scene number 1, or maybe the number 2 on the group B, but on the C, I'm going to be playing the number 1. And when we play it back, on that scene, we are playing that combination of patterns. Now, what happens if I go to the scene number 2? Well, I'm going to be press and hold, and then you can go with the plus and the minus to the scene number 2 right here. Now, on the scene number 2, you need to decide which patterns you want to play. In this case, it's playing the number 1 and the B, and in this one, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to play the number 2. And then if we play back, we have a second scene playing a different combination of patterns. And this is how it works. And on the fly, when you're just holding main, you just can go back and forward to different scenes. Another thing that you can do, and I'm going to stand on the maybe the scene number 1, when I play back, if I hold main, I can only go to the number 2. But maybe I just want to go, let's just pretend that we have a scene number 10. Well, you can do it with the keypad. By pressing and holding, you can say 02 and it will go to the number 2. Same for the number 1, I'm going to say 01 and it will take me to that combination. And okay, I wanted to start with this before we can create a beat because, right now we know how it works. We know that we need a project. Inside a project, we need samples for different groups. And then when we are ready, we create a pattern. We can create, many. And then if we want to, we create a scene and we select a different combination of patterns. That's how it works. So now we need to learn how to record. You have 2 ways to create patterns, live recording or step sequence. Let's start with live recording. I will stand on the project number 2. I'm going to press main and then go to the number 2, press and hold. And then we are standing on the project number 2. And remember that each of the groups will hold a sound from the factory, drums, then bass, and then melody. On display, you have the bars and the beats, so you always know where you're standing. The plus and the minus will let you move around the whatever pattern that you have. By default, when you create a new one, you have it's going to be a 1 bar type of pattern. We're going to talk about how to make it longer in a minute. I will make sure that I will stand on the 111, which is the beginning of the pattern, and just to record, you just need to tap the rec. Once you do so, it will start the blinking, rec is going to start, and then when you press play, it will do the count in, and then you can record. I'm going to stand on the drums. I'm going to be pressing play in 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there you go. That's how you record. Now, pressing record, it will exit the recording without stopping playback. While it's playing back, going to record, hold it, and to play again, you can hear the metronome, so it's doing the recording. So let's do some. There we go. So if you press play, it's going to stop the playback completely. And when you press the play, it's going to stop the playback at that specific point in time. But when you press it again, it will, start from the beginning of the bar. Another thing that you can do while you're playing back, if you hold the shift and you press the play, it will restart the pattern from the beginning. All right, so that's one thing that you can do. I'm all the way back to the beginning. I'm going to be doing record and play at the same time. And notice that this time, it starts recording without the count in. So you need to press record and play at the same time. And then we just can just record something. Another thing that you can do is that while the playback is stopped, you can press rec, and once you play it, but you press it, it's going to start blinking right there at the top. It means that it's waiting for you to press a pad. As soon as you press it, it's going to start the recording. And it's, of course, recording that step. Now, one funny thing how this device works is that the timeline right there, where you're standing, which bar and which beat, is going to let you hear what you're doing. So with the plus and the minus, you can even, hear everything that you did. And this is actually a good thing because when you're maybe starting from the beginning, you can hear what is playing on each of the different positions. So in this case, we are doing, I guess, it's a hat and then a snare. If I keep moving forward, right here is just a hat, and just keep moving forward, we have another hat, and right here we have a kick and just hat. So just like this, you can navigate the whole pattern and just audition the different parts. I'm going to play it back again, and when this is playing back, pressing the minus or the plus is going to slow it down, or it's going to just go faster. So this is something that you get, I guess, in Ableton. Is right there at the, at the top of the DAW. What I want to do now is I want to adjust the tempo because it's just a little bit too slow for me. So for this, you need to stand on tempo. When you go to tempo, and I'm just playing back, you can, and it just says right there, maybe the camera is not so generous. When I go to main, we are standing on main. Sound, it says sound, but tempo, it says tempo. So now the X and the Y will do different things. The X will just adjust, the playback, the tempo. You can go all the way up to 180 or go all the way down to 60. But you can do a little bit more. The thing is that you need to press the keypads. So you can do 40 or 399 BPMs tops. And for this, you need to go to tempo and just press and hold. And if you type the values, it's going to go to, in this case, 40. Or again, press and hold, and then it's 399, and it's going to go super fast. So if I want it 200 BPM, you just need to enter it with a keypad. Now I'm going to go down this, maybe 100, something like that. So this is the X, is what the X does. So this one, the Y, is going to be the metronome, and just met. So this is the volume of the metronome. So if I wanted to record something, maybe the metronome is too low, going all the way up, it's just going to make it louder. If I go down, it's just almost not there, not there. And that's why, it's just metronome and then BPM. I'm going to go back to main. So we know how to record the different patterns. And remember that how this works is that you need to stand on a pattern. Right now, if I press this, we are standing on the pattern number 1. What if I, wanted to record something else or maybe create a different pattern? The only thing you need to do is just press and hold. And then in this case, you can go to the next pattern and just maybe record something else. Then again, press and hold and just change the different patterns. I need to get out of recording. Right. Now, what if I don't like what we did and we want to delete some parts? So we need to be at the main, and while stop, remember that this will let you sweep the pattern, right? We can hear everything that we did, we recorded. So maybe I just want to stay right here and I want to erase whatever it is that we did right here. So in this case, I'm going to be going to erase. I'm going to press and hold, and I want to delete this pad. So I'm going to be deleting the snare and deleting the hat. And if I play it back, we can hear that, they're gone. Another thing that you can do is the playback erase. While this is playing back, you need to hold the erase, and again, you need to be on playback. And I want to delete the hats as we, progress through the different the pattern. So if I play it, hold it, it's just deleting that part only and not everything. And if I want to delete everything, I just need to press erase, hold it, and just, hold this pad until the whole, pattern is done playing. And it's just going to delete pretty much everything. If I wanted to delete the snares, maybe I can go right here. It's going to wipe out everything. And the same, with everything else. So this is the second way you get to erase patterns on this device. If I want to delete the kick, it's gone. Now if I go to the pattern number 2, remember that I do have something right there. Let's say I don't want it. I just wanted to delete it. So you can go to erase, just press and hold, and you need to know, of course, that you're standing on the pattern number 2. If you hold erase and then you press and hold, the pattern is going to delete it. You can do this with, whatever other pattern. If I want to delete the number 1, just press and hold, and it says BTN, and then delete, and then again, it's gone. I'm going to stand on the group number 8, where we have some kick and snare, and we have some drums. I'm going to start recording. So by default, the pattern length when we record new pattern is going to be 1 bar. And you can change this. And you can even change it when you're playing back. So you need to go to rec, just hold it, and then you go to minus, or you go to plus or minus. And I'm going to stop it now. If I press record and I go here, notice it says LN2. So now it's 2 bars or 3 bars or 4 bars. Or you can even, go down if you want to change. And remember, now we are standing on the pattern number 1. So this works only for the pattern. So I'm going to make it 2 bars. And remember, I only recorded 1 single bar. So if I play it back, we can hear the first bar, but on the second bar, we have nothing. So if we wanted to, record the second bar, we can just add it. All right, now I'm going to go to record, and I'm going to make it 1 bar. So what's going to happen with the data or the pattern I recorded, or steps I recorded after the pattern, the bar number 1, right? Do we lose it? No, not really. I'm going to make it a length of 2, and they are, they are there. So you don't delete them. And there's that you can change the length while you're playing back. Maybe you're going to do a length of 3. Of course, we're going to get a big silence. Now, if you regret doing something, you have the undo option. When you have an action that you can do, you can see the umbrella right there. So let me just, maybe record something else right here. I'm going to do some recording. I'm going to do something like that. Now, by going to shift and then pressing the number B, notice that you have an arrow just going like that. When you press it, you are just undoing the last action, which in this case was recording the hat. And by going to shift and pressing it again, we just don't get anything because you don't have the umbrella. Right? So you can undo the last thing that you did. Now the main volume, the main knob is going to be this one. But this is for all the sounds. I'm going to maybe make it a length of just 1. And I'm going to go to the number 2. And I'm going to be recording some bass, let's say. Now, if I go right here to the volume, this is the volume of the whole damn thing, of all the groups. If I go down, all the different groups go down. What if I wanted to change the volume of each group independently? Well, you can. This is going to be the famous fader. By default, the fader will control the volume for each of the groups. So if you're standing on the A, and if I play it back, I'm going to go to the fader, and this is going to be the drums. We're going down in the volume of the drums. Or we can just, go up in this case. If I go to the bass, I'm going to go down in the volume of the bass. Now, you need to notice that right now, nothing's happening. What the F is going on? So the thing is that the fader can do a lot of different things. By default, the main behavior of the fader is to control the volume of the group. And this is going to be level. Notice it says right there. So when you go to fader and you press it, it's going to tell you what this fader is controlling. In this case, it's saying it's controlling the effects. Well, this is not what I want. I want to, do nothing right here. That's fine. But I want to go and level. Now, if this one is blinking, it means that the fader is controlling whatever it says right here at the top. Right? This one is blinking. It means that we are not doing anything. We are not using it right now. But if it's steady, again, it's controlling the level. So now when I release, the fader is going to control the volume of the group B, which is the bass. Now, of course, we can do a lot more with the fader. We can do all of this actions that we can see right here. But we're going to talk about this in a minute. But always remember that when you want to use the control the volume of the different groups, you need to go to fader and make sure that you're standing on the level in this case. Alright, so we know how to control the level of the group and the level of the whole device. What if I want to control maybe the level of the snare? I want to make it maybe softer or louder. So in this case, you need to go to sound. Once you're standing in sound, you need to select the sample that you want to control. In this case, I'm going to go to maybe the snare. And it says right there, we are standing on the pad number 2. So now when we are standing here, the X and the Y, and you need to be in sound mode, will control, in this case, is going to be the level, super loud, which is softer, and it's just amp right there. And this one is going to control the pitch. And always remember, you need to be standing on this in sound mode, not main, not tempo. Right, so pitch, and when we are, right there in center, it means that we are not using or changing the pitch. Right, so amplitude and pitch, pretty simple. You can control the fader for the groups, the volume for the whole damn thing, and then when you go to sound and stand on one of the pads, you control volume, and then you control pitch. And okay, so this is how you live record on this device, and I show you a little bit more, controlling volumes with the fader and just erasing different parts, which is, in theory, we are talking about editing patterns. And I show you this so you can start creating patterns and performances on your device right now. Now, the next sections are going to be more in detail of everything else that we can do. We need to talk about quantizing, the different things that we can do with the sound, the different things that we can do with the fader. Right now, the only thing we know is to control the level, but we can do a lot more. Alright, so by default, the settings for this device are going to be quantized. That's why you have the Q right there. And then you have the intervals that you can select to do the quantization. Alright, so I'm going to be playing this, and I have a kick and a snare, just a 4 on the floor, something very simple. So when you are here, if you're playing back or not, you can go to timing. Timing will let you know what are you using in terms of the quantization or note interval. This one, the X, is gonna, select the resolution, which is gonna be 8, then triplets, then 16, 30 seconds, or triplets, and 30 seconds. So depending on what you want to do, of course, you need to adjust the settings. And this one, the Y, is going to be the swing. If you maybe go to 16s, which is the default, and go all the way up, this is going to be the swing. So you're going all the way up on swing. And right here, it's letting you know you're doing swing. If you go all the way down, there is no swing. So whatever you do right here, whatever setting that you select is what it will, it will use to quantize. And also you have the note repeat. If you're playing the timing, you press and hold the timing, and you play a pad, it's gonna use this resolution to do the note repeat. If I go to maybe 8 triplets, and if I maybe go to 8 and do full swing, we can hear an addition, whatever is going on. And if you want to record this, you can just record it. It doesn't matter, just can do it. And there you go. Now you can maybe go to a different settings, like for example, 30 seconds. And right here, I can, just record that. And it's just, going to do it for us, but it will not delete the settings for this one. So this is something really cool that we can change the resolution and then use the note repeat to, record different parts. Now, whenever you're recording a new pattern, you need to make sure where you're standing. If you're standing on Q, which is quantized, and what is, the division that you have right here. And all of this, depends on what you have. Again, I'm going to go all the way down and swing, and I'm going to stand on 16 for now. Now, the other option besides the Q is going to be the free. Q is quantized. If I press plus or minus, it's going to let you change between quantized and non-quantized, which is going to be free. All right, so I'm going to be doing some playing back, and now I only have a kick and I have a snare. And I'm standing on free, so whatever I do right here is going to get recorded and not being quantized. I'm going to do record, and I want to record the snare. Now this is a little bit off, and that's fine because, of course, we are standing on free. This is what should happen. Now what I want to do, I want you to correct this. So you can use a feature that's called time correct. I'm going to stand the main and do shift and then do timing. As soon as you do so, it's going to say TC right there at the top. So, you can see an icon right here that is standing on time correct mode. And then the pads, they start blinking. So this one is the one that we recorded free. So I can press it and it's going to quantize it for us to whatever settings that you have on the X and you have on the Y. So if I press it, now it's not blinking anymore. And if I play it, these ones are quantized. They're in sync, right? So we kind of fix that problem. Right, so You can do this with whatever you want, or maybe just, record something. I'm gonna be recording it. We are standing on, let me just double check right here on timing, we are standing on 3, right? So if I record here, I'm gonna do rec and do whatever on the hat. Right? So we have something like that. So whatever settings that you have on the X and the Y is going to be used by the time correct. So for example, in this case, I want to do 8, and maybe I'm going to do a little bit of swing. So if I do shift and I go to time correct, I want to do that one. But notice I'm playing back. So now what I can do, I can just press and hold, and whatever is that I'm pressing and hold it is going to adjust all the different notes. But it will let you know right there at the top how many notes you're just correcting. I'm gonna press in 3, 2, 1. So it's telling me that it did 10, and that now it's just, kind of a matching the 8 and then whatever swing that we have right here. So again, very cool feature. Now, one more thing before we move on. If you go to main and you go to tempo, it's going to let you know or change the time signature. I'm going to be going to main and then tempo, and there's that, it gives us the time signature, and the X is going to be changing this, and the Y is going to change the other one. So if I maybe go to 3, 4 and I play it back, we can hear that this is being applied. All right. So I'm going to stand for 4, just the classic one. And we need to move forward to the next thing, which is going to be step sequence. Okay, so starting with the clean pattern, if I play it back, I have nothing. Now, this is real simple. Since we already know how to live record and edit some of the steps, this is just pretty much the same. I'm going to be stopped, and remember that the minus and the plus, they let you travel or go to different parts in your pattern. Now, whatever it is that you're doing on timing is really important. Since we are doing 16s, when I go to main, and if I press the plus, it's going to let us move in beats, bar, and ticks. Now, if I change the resolution to maybe 30 seconds, now, of course, it's going to be a little bit more complex. So we have all the in-betweens. So yeah, the timing, like I said before, really matters right here. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning of the bar. How can we step record? So the only thing that you need to do is that while you're stopped, you need to stand on the bars and the beats that you want. And if I want to add a kick and a snare or something else at this point in time, then you just hold the record and you add a step at this point in time. And if I play it back, we can just, hear it happen. All right, so just like this, we just can navigate whatever it is that we want to do right here. And just maybe add a kick there. I'm going to be adding a kick and snare right here. And if, keep moving forward, at some point, we're going to be done with the whole sequence. If I play it back, you get the 4th floor. All right, so this is the classic step sequence. You go step by step and you just add whatever it is that you want. Remember that, again, holding is going to be adding. And if you want to erase it on maybe some other sequencers, or in this case, samplers, what you need to do is just do the same thing, and it's just going to erase it. You add it and you remove it, or you toggle on or off. In this case, it doesn't work like this. You need to go to erase and then just press it, and it's just going to remove that step. Just like this, we just can keep moving forward and add something else. And if I play it back from the beginning, this is what we get. Now, right, so a live recording is still useful, right? And this step recording is the edit mode as well, because you can navigate whatever you have in your bar and then just change something. Maybe I don't like that bongo, so I'm gonna go to erase, just remove it, and that is no more. Right. So yeah, the sequence mode, it's also the edit mode. All right, so I'm all the way back to the beginning. I'm going to be changing the timing to quantized. That's fine. And I'm going to get out, go to main. And if I play it back, again, we have the kick and the snare. So what I want to do, I want to record, maybe go all the way to the beginning, and I want to record right there a hat at the beginning of the bar. So what we can do, if I stand right there on this hat, I can just shift and then press this one, both at the same time. I'm holding, I can use the minus and the plus to nudge whatever sound or sample or step that we are playing right here. And I'm going to be doing something like this, and right there at the top is telling you where you're moving this. Maybe I'm going to be putting it right here. So now if I go all the way at the beginning, notice that now the hat is not at the beginning. It's, a little bit off. Now, all of this, the nudging really matters. Now, the nudge really listens to the timing that you have. Because if you have 16ths, in this case, it's going to move it by 16ths. If you have 30 seconds and we do the nudging again, let me just go back to main and then go all the way back and find that hat is right there, right? So I'm going to do shift. I'm going to be pressing both and I'm just going to nudge it. And we have more values now. So maybe I'm going to put it right here. Right? So yeah, the resolution, like I said before, really matters right here. I'm going to be erasing that hat. I don't want it anymore. I just wanted to kick in the snare. Now, if I go to timing, I want to change it to free. I'm going to maybe stand on 16s just to do something else. No swing, right? But I'm standing on free. So how will the nudge, it's going to work right now? Because now it's free. It's not being quantized. So, okay, so I'm going to be going back to main. And I'm going to stand at the beginning of the sequence. I'm going to do a record and add one there. So if I play it, we can, of course, we know that it's just at the beginning of the bar. So again, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to do a shift and I'm going to hold it. So now the nudging is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be in ticks because it's free, right? We are not doing quantization. So it's just a little bit different. If I play it, notice it's just not being quantized. It's a little bit off. So yeah, I'm going to be doing it again. I'm going to go all the way and find that snare. There we go. We have it. I'm sorry, that hat. We have it right there. So if I go here, I'm going to be doing a little bit more. Or you can go the other way if you wanted to. There you go. All right, so you can go forwards. Or you can nudge it, forwards or backwards. Okay, so I have a kick and snare just like we did before. If I go to timing, it's going to be 16s and then no swing. And we are doing quantization. So we know a lot at this point. Now I want to go to the group number B where we have all the basses. So I want to record something. Right, so what you can do, you can go to the keys and whatever sample that you selected at this point is going to spread it across the multiple pads. Now, when you're standing on a pad, in this case, it's going to be this bass. Now, the other one's this one. You need to press keys, and if you press and hold it, when you enable it, it's going to tell you where the root is. In this case, it's going to be the one. Sometimes it's going to be right here on the dot or just the first pad. Now, once you release this icon right here, it's telling you that on this group, you're standing on keys mode for, maybe the sound. So now if I play it, we are just getting the keys version of this, just transposing the sample so we can use it as keys. Now, if I press the keys and just do plus or minus, is going to transpose the keys by octaves. So if I go up, I can hear that is going on. Of course, it's just maybe a little bit too much. We get it. Cool. And when you enter the keys mode for this sound and you keep pressing it, it's going to let you move the root. The root is right here. The one, maybe I'm going to be changing it right here. So now the root is going to be the dot and not the one. Right? Now, if you do this again, if you wanted to do it again, you need to do it and then just release it. If you do it like that, it's going to stay on keys mode. But when you press and hold, it's going to toggle off and toggle on. So it doesn't know until you do something else that you want to stay on the keys mode. In this case, I'm just going to be pressing here, and this is going to be my root. Right? So that's it. You get 12 tones of whatever sample that we are trying to play. So that's it pretty much. You select whatever sample, you go enable the keys, you see the icon there, and then you just, of course, know your root. And then you just record whatever is that you want. It's that easy. Now it would be cool to maybe have a scale or select different scales. Now you can, I'm going to be erasing the whole pattern. I'm going to be, maybe doing something different. I'm going to hold the pattern, just delete it. I guess I'm standing on the pattern number 1. Yeah. So how can we change the scales? It's not at hand. You need to do a little bit of menu dive. By doing shift and then holding it, you need to go to erase. This is going to take you to the system settings. And notice it says system right there. So with the minus and the plus, you can navigate all the different options that you have on the system settings. So you need to go to the one that says pad. Once you're standing there, you need to press enter to confirm or to enter to the sub menu. If you press enter, it's going to give you more options. What do you want to change? The velocity? We can talk about this one in a minute. We can go to SCA, which is scales, and then we have key that, again, we're going to talk about this in a second. The one we care right now is going to be SCA, scales. We want to enter there. I'm going to be pressing enter. So you will get a bunch of options right here. If I, keep going up or down, it's going to give you different scales. In this case, it's going to Lydian, Locrian, and all the different scales. You have the 12 tones, which is the one that we use by default, or we get by default. I guess I was using a different scale. I can maybe, again, stand on minor, or maybe we can go to Dorian or a different scale. In this case, I'm going to be selecting a minor. If you want to audition how the sound will sound, you press enter. Once you're there, you can audition whatever it is that you do. Maybe not enter, but you can listen to whatever it is that you're trying to do. If I go to maybe here, if I want to listen, I need to confirm the changes, and then then we can use it. I'm going to go back to maybe minor. If I enter, it's confirmed. Now, of course, once we do this, and I want to exit, you do main. And whatever is that you have as root, in this case, it's going to be a C, is going to be a C minor scale, right? So, what if I wanted to change the key? Well, you can do so. If I go to shift and again erase, we access the system settings, we go to the pad, enter, then we go to the scale. Well, not really. The next one is going to be the key. And this one is going to let you select the root. So if I go to here, we can change with plus and minus the root note. In this case, maybe it's going to be, I don't know, an F. I guess that's fine. And when we do enter, since this was the root, we are going to be able to audition. If I go to E, that is just lower. And maybe I'm going to go to a D. We can really hear the changes. I'm going to stand on, I don't know, F. So now if I do confirm the changes and go back to main, the root is going to be this key. So we know that this one is going to be an F minor type of scale. So yeah, it's something really cool, but maybe, this should be, maybe on the next firmware update, we could get maybe a combination of maybe 2-3 keys to access to the scales directly and not do shift, erase, blah, 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 and then go to the pads, then enter, and then go to scales and enter. So it sounds like an extra step to do something that we might want to do the whole time. All right, so since we are talking about system settings, I want to show you how the velocity works. I'm going to go to maybe to the drums and stay in the hat. I'm going to go shift and then system settings. I'm going to stand in the pad and then just press enter to enter, to the system settings. And we have the velocity. If I press enter, it says off. So by default, it's off. So if I play something, it doesn't matter how hard I play it, the velocity is off. If I go to the next one, it's going to be high or you get low. So high, it means that, you don't need to press it that hard in order to get, the velocity. Notice that right now it's just not doing it. It's blinking. It's because you need to accept the changes. I'm going to do enter and now it's not blinking. So if I do soft, it's going to be soft. And if I press harder, we get more velocity. Now the other one is just a little bit different. The other setting is going to be low. And on this one, you really need to hit it hard. So if I do soft, it's going to be very soft. And if I want more velocity, I need to really hit it right here. So yeah, you just get two profiles. You don't get something to kind of configure the sensitivity. You just get high and you just get low. All right, so I'm going to stay on low. I'm going to press enter. We know that we have low. And if I go back to main and I do some recording, we should be able to record the velocity. Now, this pad pads are not really pads, these are buttons. So just get the velocity right. Getting the velocity or sensitivity right, it's a little bit hard on this device, which is fine because these are keys. It's just like an electron device where we don't have sensitivity. You just press it and it's just going to go on or off. Now, right here at the top, you can see MIDI, and it says 1 and it says 0. It's not 1 and 0. It's going to be input or it's going to be output. So if you have a cable, you can plug in your MIDI device like a keyboard or maybe some pads, right, where you have more sensitivity. And if you connect it to the input, this is going to recognize it and you can record with that external device whatever, sequence that you want to create. And it will really recognize that velocity with an external device like a keyboard. And it works really, really well. It's super controllable. I'm going to be going back to system settings and I want to disable that sensitivity. I'm going to go velocity and then go all the way to off. And if I turn it off, it doesn't mean that we erase everything that we did with that hat. Right, so we still keep it. Alright, so let's talk about copy pasting. If I play this back, I have a kick snare, just one single pattern with a kick snare and some hats. Pretty simple. And as you can see, it's only one bar, right? Just one bar. So what I want to do, I want to copy or maybe extend the length of the sequence and then just paste the first bar onto the second bar. If I want to extend the length, holding rec and then plus is going to extend it by 2 bars. If I play it back, we only have something on the first bar and not on the second one. So okay, so what if I want, again, to copy the first bar and paste it on the second one? First, you need to stand right here on where you want to copy. So if I stand right here at the beginning, we are copying the first bar. And it's because what this does, how this device copies, is by bar or by patterns. So if you want to copy a bar, you need to do Shift and then the group C. And notice that you have an up arrow, this means copy, and the down arrow means paste. So if you're standing at the beginning of the bar, when you do copy, it's going to say bar right there, right? I'm going to do it again. It's going to say bar. This means that you copied the first bar. So you need to go where you want to paste it. In this case, it's going to be the beginning of the second bar. And then just do Shift and D to paste. Right? And then it's going to paste it. So if I play it, we have the same, first bar, but now we have it on the second. And we have 2 bars of the same thing. So this is how we copy paste bars. Now, what if I wanted to copy the whole pattern? If I stand on the group A, we can see that we are standing on the pattern number 1 of the group A. I want to copy that. So standing on that pattern, right, I need to do Shift and I need to do the same thing. The difference is that when you tap it once, it's going to copy a bar. But when you tap it twice, it's going to copy the pattern. It says pattern right there. So now I can maybe go to the pattern number 2. And if I want to paste it, I'm going to do Shift and then paste the pattern. And if I play it back, we get the same pattern. But now we are standing on the pattern number 2, right? So this is how, you copy paste patterns. What if I want to copy a sound? We need to talk about all the things that we can do with sound, but in this case, I just want to show you how to copy and paste. So let's go to something that we can really recognize. This is a sound that sounds pretty interesting. I want to copy this one and paste it on a different place. I want to paste it maybe onto D and the pad number 1, which is the dot. Right, so I want to copy this. You need to be on sound in sound mode, right? It says sound right there. Maybe the camera isn't showing it, but it says sound. So I want to copy this sound. And notice that this one is selected. You have the light. So to do this, again, since you're standing on this sound, you do Shift, and then you need to go to group C to copy, and it says pad. It means that it's copying the sound that you have on the pad right there. And notice if you keep typing it, it's going to say gap or pad. We're going to talk about this in a minute. The one I care right now, it's going to be pad. So it's copying the sound. I need to go to where I want to paste it. And maybe I want to paste it right here. I'm going to do Shift and then I'm going to paste it. So now this one is going to be that interesting sound. Right? So again, this is how we can copy bars, we can copy patterns, and we can copy sounds. Alright, so now we need to talk about commit and scenes. We already discussed this a little bit at the beginning of this video, but now we will go in depth. Alright, so at the time of this video, there's no song mode. This has no song mode. We have no way of chaining patterns Maybe this will be something that will be added on later on a firmware update. Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to stand on the group number A. For all the different groups, I'm standing on the pattern number 1. There's pretty much nothing on this project. So when I play it, we are playing the pattern number 1 of all the different groups. Now the scenes, when you create a scene, you're going to be playing a combination of patterns. We already, again, talked about this. When I hold main, it's going to tell you on which scene you're standing. And if you go up, or you try to select a different scene, if you never created one, well, you're not going to get it. You just get scene number 1. So if I record something simple like a 4 in the floor, something like that, and maybe I go to a bass and I do, again, something simple. Alright, so we have that going on. I'm going to go to the C and I'm going to be, doing something. Right, that's it. That's everything that we want. So this could be the main intro of our song. So what they give us again is the scenes. When we create a new scene, it will copy everything that we have right here, whatever pattern, and it will paste it on the next scene and it will duplicate the pattern. Now, one thing that you need to know is that if you have a pattern, the pattern number 1, when you create a new scene, it will copy this and paste it on the next empty pattern. If you have something going on in the pattern number 2, it will not paste it on the number 2. It will paste it on an empty pattern. So if maybe the number 4 is empty, well, it's going to take you to scene number 2 and then paste it there. In this case, we only have a pattern in the pattern number 1. So I want to take this and create a performance. Let's say that this is my intro. I want to create a verse. We need to commit. So we go to Shift, hold the Shift, and then press Main. It's going to create a new scene for us. And if I play it back, we have the same thing, but now it's going to be on pattern 2, number 2, and number 2 again. So right here, we just can punch in, and we are standing, make sure that we are standing on the scene number 2. Just can, record some changes and just create a performance. If I go to the bass, and just like that, you create a second scene. You're standing on the pattern number 2 of everything. So just by holding main, you can change scenes. We already, again, discussed this. When we go to scene number 1, everything is pattern number 1. If we go to scene number 2, everything is pattern number 2. Now, at the end of the day, you can create more variations. I'm going to Shift and main again. And now we are standing on the scene number 3. And now everything that we get is the pattern number 3. So you can create, when you hold the pattern, when you're standing on a scene, you can change the pattern to maybe something else. Maybe the bass is going to be pattern number 1 for the scene number 3. But when I go back to the previous scene, the pattern is going to be the number 2, and so on and on and on. So you could create even maybe 10 different patterns and then choose the ones that are going to be playing or be part of your scene. That's, pretty much how it works. So, okay. So this is, again, what you get. Remember, when you go to main, if you want to enter a very specific pattern from the keypad, you can. The only thing that you need to know is that if the scene doesn't exist, like 05, it will just not go there, right? Okay. Now, this is how we create a performance. This is the way we get. We, again, don't get a song mode. We don't get the chain mode. We get scenes. Now, maybe it would be cool in the future. Maybe we can have a way of chaining different scenes. Maybe starting on the scene number 1, then going to the 10 and a certain amount of times, and then going to the 2 and so on and so on. At the point of the recording of this video, we just don't have something like this. Now, what if I wanted to delete a scene, right? I just wanted to delete it. So I'm going to be standing. We need to stand on the scene that we want to delete. And what we need to do is go to Erase, hold it, and then go to Main and hold it. It's going to say SCN and then del. And if I go to here to hold Main, we don't have a scene number 3. I want to delete the number 2. I'm going to hold it, and it's gone, right? The only thing that we have right now is the scene number 1, which is the default scene that you cannot delete, right? You always stand on the number 1. Now, the cool thing is that this is going to, of course, take you to the first scene, but it will not delete your patterns. I can still go to pattern number 2 or pattern number 3. Maybe we did nothing on the number 3. Or, we can go to different patterns. So, yeah, if you create different scenes and then you decide that the scenes, you want to go back maybe and create scenes all over again, you can. You just delete them, you don't lose the patterns, and then you just create the performance again. Alright, so up to right here, this part of the video, you're good. You know a lot of things. You know how to create patterns, scenes, and, navigate the groups and everything else. You can create a performance if you want to. Still, you have a lot more things right here that we're going to be discussing. Still, we need to go to sound and discuss everything that we can do with sound. We have all the different play modes. We need to talk about sampling that we have right here and how we can, work with the samples, doing time stretch. You also have a MIDI mode. We need to discuss mute groups. So we need to, we still need to do a lot. And we have the effects, and then we have the fader functions. Alright, so now it's time to talk about the different options that you get in sound, and you have a lot of options. Now, when you go to sound mode, it will, pretty much give you a number. This is because you have a pad selected. So when you're in sound mode and in a different group, it will let you select a pad, which is going to be a sample. And right there is going to be the number. So if I select this, which is the kick, is the number 11. If I go here, it's going to be a hat, 208, and so on, right? So if I go to basses, we get the 500. Now, the important thing that is when you're standing on, I'm going to go right here. When you're standing on a pad, you can audition, but you can also maybe change the sample. This one is the 502. So with the minus and plus, you can change the different samples. Now, sometimes if you want to select a very specific sample, you know what, I'm going to go right here where we have no samples. Let's say I want to select the sample number 502. What are you going to do? You're going to go, if you're all the way down, you're going to search it like this. Well, maybe not, right? So you have the shift. When you go to shift, you go by tenths. So it's just much easier to get there, right? Still, if you need to go all the way up in the samples, just doing shift and doing by tens, still going to take a long time if you have a lot of samples. So one thing that you can do is by holding the sound, just hold, press and hold, you can type the number of the sample that you want. So if you want the number 2, you get the number 2. If you want the 500, well, you get the 500. Also, when you're standing on a pad and you do have a sound loaded, you can press and hold the sample and it will play back, but also will let you know the name of the sample. Which is, again, it's just super cool. On this one, I have nothing, so we get nothing. And by default, remember then the X and the Y, they do different things when we are standing in sound mode, which is going to be the amplitude of the sample. And this one is, again, is going to be the pitch. We already talked about this. Now, from factory, when you select samples, let me just maybe go all the way down. From factory, you have 300 samples, pretty much. So not all the samples are going to be there, right, from factory. Kicks are going to be from the on the first 100, 1 to 99. So if we keep going up, at some point, it's going to find no sample or maybe an empty spot. And it's going to jump to the next available sample, which is in this case, the 100. And on the 100 to till 199, you have the snares. And if I keep going, at some point, it's going to jump to 200 because, again, you don't have all the slots occupied. Now, percussions, hi-hats are going to be on the 200s. Then on the 300s are going to be the percussion. And then bass is going to be on the 400s, right? And then you have the melodic sounds, which is going to be on the 500s. And after 500, you have pretty much nothing. That's why it's not letting you move forward. Like I said before, how you allocate the different samples is completely up to you. Drums, basses, melodic, and then your user sounds. All right, so this is what you can do with this sound. But you do have a lot more options. There is a lot more going on right here, especially when we go to sound and we enter to the play modes. Okay, so you have 3 different play modes: one shot, key, and legato. And you need to stand on a sound in order to get it. So I'm going to go to the group D and I'm standing right here. I'm going to be selecting the sample 559. Why this one? Well, this comes from factory and it's because it's kind of long. It has a tail and we need to use this. So when you're standing on a sample just like this, or any sample, you can go to Shift and then you go to Sound, and it will let you enter to the different options. And you have a lot of options right here. You have the sound, you have the tr, you have the imb, you have the tim, you have the mid, and then you have the gap. We're going to talk about all of these options right now. So when you're standing on the first one, it's going to be the S&D, which is sound. This is the sound modes, the play modes. And you get, again, one shot, key, and legato. And the X and the Y will control something of this different options. So this one will change the mode. If I stand on this sample right here, if I move this one, it's going to change the mode. You have one shot, again, key and legato. If I go to one shot, this means that when I play the key, it's going to, of course, play the sample. And if I press it again, it's going to stop the playback of the sample and then start over. It is that every time I play or press the pad, the sample starts over. This is how one shot works. And this is not something new or not something from this sampler. It's something very common. Now this one shot is monophonic. Then you have the other ones. I'm going to go to the legato. Now legato, it's monophonic as well, but it works a little bit different. If you're using it on one single pad, it's pretty much the same as one shot. You press and you release, and the sample will start over. Oh, one thing I forgot to say about one shot is that when I play it, it will play the whole sample. That is, I'm releasing the key, and it's just, playing the whole sample. That's, one shot. But legato doesn't work like that. If I press and then I release, it's going to stop the playback. Also, when we are standing on legato, if I go to keys, of course, we can use the different keys, but when we are playing and holding a sample and you play a new sample, it will not restart the sample. It will just play it back when I press the new key from where it's actually playing. So if I press and hold, notice that it's just not starting again. It's just continuing from when I started right here. So this is the legato when we work with keys. And this is not polyphonic, this is monophonic. Alright, so again, this is the legato. Then if you go to key, well, key, it's polyphonic. So now you have a, polyphonic sound. Let me just go down in volume. If I play it, notice that it's playing the keys in a polyphonic fashion. Every time I play a key, it will do it. All right, so all of this depends on what you want to do or what you want to do with the sample, right? If you want to, you have a maybe not this, but just a tiny little sample where you can play it polyphonically with the keys. Well, then you need to go right here and select key. If not, maybe the other modes are just much useful. But right here, you select the mode, and the other thing that it will do, I'm gonna go to legato for now. I'm gonna go right here. This one is gonna be panning. And as you adjust this, it will let you hear how much you're panning to the left and how much you're panning to the right. Right? If you go to the center, it's stereo or just completely mono. Depends on the sample. Okay, so the next couple of modes are going to be the trim and the envelope, and these ones are really simple to understand. I'm going to stand on sound, go to the group D, and I'm going to use the sample 559. So we need to go to the menu, shift and sound, and we already know that we have sound. I'm going to stay on legato, why not? You know what, I'm going to go to one shot for now. So when I play it, it's going to play the whole sample. And the panning is going to be right at center. I'm going to be going right here to plus, and we have the tr, which is trim, and then you have the envelope, which is envelope. I'm going to go first to the trim. Now on the trim mode, the X and the Y are going to start to trim your sample. You can trim the starting point or the ending point of your sample. So if I play it back, right now, notice that this is full. This means that we are all the way at the start and all the way at the end. So it's the full sample. But if I wanted to, I can move this and it will start on a different spot. Or maybe I just want to make it shorter, so yeah, we can. Notice that now it's super short. So yeah, with this one, you trim the start and the end of the sample. Pretty easy to understand. Now, doing it right here with the X and the Y, it's cool. If you connect this to USB, you get the application to control and import samples on this device. You have a visual representation of the starting and the ending point that you can control with the X and Y, and it's much easier to trim it right there. I have a different video prepared just to show you how the whole application works. I'm going to be releasing that video in a couple of days. So on the trim is all the way to the beginning and all the way at the end. So it's the full sample. The next mode is going to be envelope. And as you could guess, the envelope is just envelope. The X is going to set the attack of the sound. So if I go all the way to the beginning, there, it's just no attack. Just as soon as we press it, starts right away. But if we want a little bit of fade in, notice that it fades in. If I go really aggressively, since this is a long sample, we can hear that fading in. And we have the same thing, but for the fade out. If I go all the way to up, notice that it cuts. And if I go up, it's gonna slowly fade out. And if I go all the way up to the release, it's gonna be, pretty much the whole sample. So yeah, it's gonna be the attack and the release. Okay, so the next mode, it's going to be time stretching. I have a tiny little loop, which is a 4 in the floor. And I did this so we can go to the same sample that we've been using, the 559. I guess it's that number, yeah, 559. And we can listen how we can time stretch. So like before, I have this one selected. I'm going to go to Shift and I'm going to go to Sound right here. And I'm going to go all the way at the beginning and make sure that right here you have the legato on. I'm going to use the legato. I'm going to go to the trim. There's no trimming at all. And on the envelope, it's all the way up and all the way down. So right, so we are kind of back to defaults. So I'm going to go to the time. Now the time has 2 different modes. And right now it's completely off, so it doesn't matter. Now with the X, you can change it to BPMs or you can change it to bar. And I know it's a little bit confusing. I'm going to give you an example. That's why I have that kick and snare prepared. I'm going to go to bar. And if I go here, it will let you select the different, the amount of bars. So I'm going to stand on 1. So if I play this, and I go right here, as soon as the bar starts, it means that this will last 1 bar. There's no stretching going on. Alright, so let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will last 1 bar and then die. So it's doing that time stretching. Now, if I go to a different value, maybe I go to, made a mistake right there. If I go right here, maybe do 2 bars. Now the sample will be time stretched to 2 bars. So let's start again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And at 2 bars, it will just die because it's time stretching to 2 bars. And you can do up to 4, which is going to be like super long. And if I go down to all the values, it's going to be much shorter. Right, so that's what it does, and this is what how the bar works. Now then you have the other one, and the other one is BPM. Instead of using bars to time stretch your sample, you can use the BPM. So whatever BPM you select right here is gonna it's gonna use it to time stretch. If I go all the way up, it's gonna be much slower, right? And you need to fine-tune your BPMs right here. If you ask me, well, it depends on what you want to do. The bar is much controllable because you know how long it would last. The BPMs is something that you need to play your track and then just adjust it manually. Alright, so the next mode is going to be the MIDI mode. On this one I have a sample, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to be going again to the sounds. If you don't remember how to access there, it can be shift and then sound, and you have the different options. You have, after the time, you have the mid, which is going to be MIDI. If I play the sample, still, plays the sample. But what I can do right here, I can output MIDI notes information to 16 different channels. right? So this is something pretty cool. Now in this case we have a sample, so it's going to play. So maybe I'm going to be selecting, not that one, I'm going to get out of the keys. I'm going to select this one. Now this one has no sound. If I go to sound, we can see that this one has an empty sample. Still, I can go to shift and then sound and enter the different modes. And if I go to MIDI, I can select maybe that this one will output to the channel number 1. And when I do or create a sequence with this pad, right, whatever sequence, it works, exactly the same. It will output note information to whatever device where this is connected, right? It's outputting MIDI to the channel number 1, and it's outputting MIDI notes. So right here, since you can output MIDI notes, read this one lets you select the root node so you can adjust it to, whatever device that you're using. So you can connect, and I'm not going to do it right here because this video is just, maybe way too long already. I've already recorded a video showing how this works, just connected to different devices. We can use the MIDI mode, for example, to use USB and maybe go to a DAW and use maybe the group A, B, and C, and then use the other 16 channels to use it with the DAW. So this will be playing back whatever we create on this device, and this one will output MIDI information to, 16 tracks on your DAW. And you can, again, just create a full performance with your DAW. Or maybe you can output this through the MIDI input and output to a synthesizer, right? You just choose the same channel on your synthesizer. If on this one we are using the 5, you target the 5, and whatever is that you do here, it will go to your external synthesizer. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty cool. You have the ability of output MIDI information to other devices. Alright, so the next thing is going to be the mute groups. If I maybe, I'm going to go right here to the group A, and right here I have a kick and snare, and if I play back, we have that kick and snare. I'm going to go to sound. Now, this mode, it's a little bit different than the other ones. After the MIDI one, we can see something that says gap. Well, it's not gap, it's GRP for groups. Now, this mode, just like the other ones, the X and the Y, they do absolutely nothing. If there is no mute group, the pads will just blink or flash. And right here, right now, I'm standing on the group A, and these ones are steady. I'm loading a project that came with the sounds, so this came configured from factory like this. I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna just type this. So they're all flashing. When they are flashing means that you don't have a choke group or you don't have a mute group. If I play it back, what the main point of doing all of this is that when you select a sample that maybe belongs to the hat or a crash, they belong to the same group. So they cannot overlap. That's why it's called choke groups. It's okay. So if I get out and if I play this hat, it sounds like that, and the crash is going to be much longer. So if I play a crash, I want the hat to choke or to stop the playback of the crash because it's super long. So if I go back to shift and sound and I go to gap, I'm going to say the hat and the crash are in the same choke group. So if I play now, if I go out, if I play the crash, notice that the crash will stop when I play the hat. If I disable or remove them from the choke group, it's going to be completely different. That is, the crash is much longer. Right, so this depends on your performance. Maybe when you're just playing the hats, you want to play the crash, but maybe it's just too much with them together. So you can maybe make them a part of the same group and they will choke each other. So you avoid that overlapping. Now, on other more capable devices, you can create different groups. On this one, you only have one group, so you can add whatever to the same group, right? But you only get one. That's one thing that you really need to know. All right, so now it's time to talk about the loop function that you get in this one. If I play this, I have something more complex, just a complex pattern. We have some bass, some drums, and some melody parts. All right, so what we can do with this one is that when you do shift and you go to tempo, right here, you see this icon? Well, this is going to make it loop, and the X is going to decide what we loop, and the Y, I'm going to put it all the way down. And as soon as I play it, notice what happens. I need to maybe move this, and notice that this is just kind of a going through the whole sequence, and it's looping a part of it. The Y, so on this one, you just, go through the different pattern, the location of the pattern. And this one is going to be how much you loop. And as I go up, we loop more. So that's how it works. So it's much easier when you have something, playing in the back. So this is a performance type of feature. Maybe I want to do a little bit less. So when you're standing right here, this is what you get. This is the loop, right? Now, there's one more thing that you need to know. When you're standing on this and you're, getting this loop, just press tempo right here, tempo, and it will get out. You just keep playing whatever it is that you had. And you can, do the same thing again. If you go to shift tempo, you're gonna start to loop that section. Go out, and it will continue. Now, there's one more thing. I'm gonna press tempo. It's gonna start looping. If in this case you press main, it will get out of this looping on the next bar. Right? It's just much useful in the occasion in this case, because it will always follow the beginning of your sequence. Right. And so this is the loop. Pretty simple tool, but it could be something really cool, especially if you're, on a performance, because this is not something that you can record. It's something that you do on the fly, right? All right. Now we need to talk about effects, but first we need to cover how to work with the fader, how to understand the fader. Now the fader controls different things on your sequence, and I have the same sequence than before. All right. So the fader controls each group. If you're standing on A, the fader works for the group A. And we already talked about this a little bit, but now I'm going to expand it. So if I go to fader, the fader will let you know what is controlling. In this case, is the level. And if you take a look at the pads, on each of the pads, you have different functions. So the fader can control the level. If you select pitch, it's going to control the pitch. If you select the time, it's going to control the time. And if you go maybe, to the pan, it's going to control the panning. So you can control multiple things with the fader. Now, how do you know on which of the different modes you are? If the light is steady, it means that the fader is controlling the level. If I want to maybe go to pitch and just, maybe use the pitch, I'm going to go to I'm going to go to this one, which is going to be the tiny melody at the back. Or maybe I'm going to go to the bass, why not? So if I go to fader and I go to pitch, now pitch is steady, right? So if I play it back and I use the fader on the B and we are standing on pitch, this is going to mess up with the pitch. It's going to detune it up or just tune it down. This is how it works. Now, if I get out of the fader and go back to the level, that is that now the level is steady, but this one is blinking. If it's steady, it means that we are standing in level. So now this controls the level. But it keeps and remembers what we did on the pitch. So behind the scenes, there's a value that the fader is remembering for the pitch. It's not that you just remove it. It's still going on. If I go back to pitch, now level, it's blinking because we changed the default values. And now we are standing on pitch and we can mess with the pitch. I'm going to go back to level because now it's just too quiet. I'm going to go to fader, and you can do, all of them at once if you wanted to. If I go to time, you're going to be messing with the time, with the sample. And I've noticed that we have values on all the first three. Maybe I want to do nothing with the time. I'm going to be going down in time, just closer to the center. I'm going to go to maybe low pass frequency. So this is going to be cutting the high frequencies. And right there at the top, it's telling you how much filtering you're doing. If you go up at some point, you're not going to do anything. If I go to the high pass filter and I start moving this, well, now we are chopping lows. And again, you have different options for the fader. You have the attack right here. You have the release. You can go to the attack. It's the same thing. If I go up, it's a really slow attack. If I go down, the attack is pretty much the opposite way. So you can get close to zero. You always need to take a look at the display. And then if I go maybe to panning, maybe I'm going to go to the right, or or maybe I'm going to go to the left. It's completely up to you. All right, so this is what we can do with the fader, right? You target whatever it is that you want to do, and then you move the fader and it will remember it. Now, always remember that the fader works on a group level, not on a pad or sample level. All right, so how do you know that you have a value or you did something on the fader? If the light is blinking, it's because you have something else than 0 or default, right? That's pretty much it. What if you want to reset it? Maybe I'm going to go to attack, right? And I'm going to go and stand on 0 right here, which is the default. If you're standing on 0, you're just doing pretty much nothing. So this is one way of resetting it back. If I go to time, again, go all the way up or all the way down, we are messing with the time, but as soon as I get close to nothing, or 1 in this case, it means that we are not doing anything. Now, there's one thing that you can do. Maybe I'm going to be going to the drums, because it's going to be much easier to hear. And I'm going to go and mess with the, I don't know, with the time. Why not? Now, we can really hear the change. All right, so we get something like that. Cool. Now, I want to maybe dispose this. So you have a cool way of doing this. By doing shift and doing fader, it will just reset it back to 0. But you can undo it. So if I do shift, remember we are only doing time. I do shift, I do fader, it goes back to the reset, and it says reset. But if I press it again, you're setting it back again. So it's like an undo. So you can set, you can just modify whatever values that you have right here. You know, maybe I'm gonna go to pitch and do something crazy, and I can go back to the original sound. No modulation, no effects, and then just at some point maybe go back. Maybe I just move this, which is my mistake because I'm on a weird position in the camera. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna go to pitch, and I'm gonna go to time, and I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna press fader, and then I'm gonna be pressing it again to enable it back. Remember, if you move this, you're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get it back because this is like an undo, a redo type of deal. Now, there's something even better. I'm gonna go maybe to all the defaults, which is the drums and the level. I'm gonna go to the bass, and in this case, I want to delete everything. Now, what you do, you can go to erase and then go to fader. So if I do this and go to fader and keep holding, it's gonna say FDR and then delete. And if I go here, notice that we have nothing, maybe selected time, but now if I go to level, it's going back to defaults. So we wiped out everything that got to do with the fader and the bass in this case. All right. So this is how you erase it. But the thing is that you erase everything. That's how it works. Another thing that you can do fader motion. You can record the fader motion. So I'm going to go to the drums because it's just pretty easy to hear. I'm going to hold the fader and I'm going to go to the time. And I guess if I go up or go down, we can really hear the difference between fader and no fader, right? So what I can do, I can record this. I'm going to be playing it back and I'm going to hold, maybe go here. I'm going to hold the record, and while we hold the record, we move it and we record. And when we want to stop recording, we just release the record. If we hear it, we record the motion. And there you go. That's how you will record the motion. And notice that you're standing on time. Maybe we can go to pitch right now and do the same thing. If I go up in pitch, it's going to sound like that. And if I go down, it's going to sound like that. So I'm going to record it. Now I'm going to record it up and then down. Right. Cool. Now, remember that doing shift and fader is going to undo, not all, because we are recording motion. It's a little bit different. Now, so the only way you get, again, to erase what you did with the motion is to do erase and fader. And this will remove all the automation for the fader, which is maybe not a cool deal because you remove everything. What if you just want to delete time and not the pitch? You want to keep the pitch. Well, erase and fader will just remove everything. If you want to get rid of the time, for example, that we did right here, well, I'm going to be standing on time, and the way that you get is when you play it, you just go to time and you hold the value that you want by default. So you're manually setting it back to default, and you're just recording that. There you go. So now the time, even though we have some values right here, it's recording 0. So it's doing no modulation, right? No automation. This is one way we get to, reset each individual value. But if you want to erase everything, just as we said before, erase and then fader, and it will just delete everything that got to do with the fader. All right, so FDR, and then delete, and if I play it back, you're just back to the beginning. Cool. In conclusion, press fader, select whatever it is that you want to control with the fader, and then just do it. That's how it works. Simple as that. Now, since we understand now that to control the fader, we need to stand in a very special place, now we can talk about effects. Because you have an option right here, the number 6 is going to be effects. And this is how much we are going to be sending from this group to the effects that we have here. Right, so master effects. So pressing the effects right here will let you select a list of effects. If it's off, you're just not doing anything. If you keep going minus and plus, it's going to be delay, then reverb, then distortion, then chorus, then a filter, and then just a compressor, and that's it. That's what you get. Now, first, before we can test them and use them, I'm going to be addressing the most common concerns from users I could find on the web. Can we use a combination of effects? Can we chain effects? Like first a delay going to a reverb, then to a compressor. No, we cannot. We can only select one single effect from this list. And then we take a group and we send an amount to that master effects. So we can only use one single effect. Can we send individual sounds to the effects? No, you cannot. If you want to send, for example, the snare to the effects and then have, I don't know, some delay right there. No, the only thing you can do is just send from the whole group, just your whole kit, to that master effects. And the last one, can we send group A to a compressor, then group B to a reverb, C to a delay? Nope. Remember, one single master effects. If you choose a reverb right here and you send from this one, and this one, the only thing you can do is send to that master. So all of them will go to a single effects, which is in this case reverb or distortion or whatever is that you do right here. You only get one single effects. Now, it will be great to do all of that, but up to this version, which is the 1.2 something, you cannot do it. This device is just way too young at this point. There's a lot of room for improvement, but, at this point, you cannot do it. So let me just show you what you can do. Like I said before, when you have something, you need to stand on the group. And right here, in this case, I'm going to go to effects. And then you just need to select an effects, all right? And in this case, I'm going to be selecting a delay, and I'm going to maybe go right here to this. I'm going to go down in the level of the drums. I think it's just way too loud. I want to hear the melodic part. So I'm using a delay. So now I need to select how much I want to send from this melodic part, from this group, to the effects. And the fader is going to decide that. Right now, for this group, the fader is standing on level. I want to stand on effects send. And now, with this fader, you decide how much you want to send to that effects. This is how we do it. And again, if you go to fader, this one is steady. We are in send. If I go down, I send nothing. Or maybe just send a tiny little bit. And now, again, since you only have one single master effects, I could go, to the drums and do the same thing. I'm gonna select effects send and then send to the delay, which is, maybe not a good example because it's a bass. You can do maybe just a tiny little bit and that will work. Right. So this is how it works. If you want to reset how much you send, you just stand on the effects and you go all the way down and you're sending absolutely nothing. I'm gonna go here. We know that we are sending from the melodic part. If I go down, we send nothing. All right. Now, I'm gonna be sending right here. Now, what you get for the different controls, in this case of the delay, you get the delay time on the first control, which is the LAN. And you can just move it and it will give you that nice detuning or pitching. And this one is going to be the feedback. Alright, so it's just a delay. Very simple. If I go to the next one is going to be the reverb. X is going to be the room size, right? And the other one, this one, is going to be the cutting high frequencies. So if I go all the way up, it's just going to make the reverb darker. I'm going to send all. If I go all the way down, notice it's just a little bit darker. And on this one, we have a lot more high frequencies. So yeah, that's how it works. All right, so the next one is going to be distortion. As you could guess, I'm going to go all the way down to these values. Now, the distortion at the X is the drive, right? How hard you hit it. And Y, is going to be the color, which makes it really aggressive. All right, let me go all the way down. I'm going to go to course. Now, course, the first control is going to be the rate of the course. And then Y is going to be the feedback, so you can get really crazy sounds. Alright, and last but not least is going to be the filter and the compressor. Now, of course, this makes sense. The filter is going to be how much you cut on the X, and then the resonance is just a filter. There we go. Resonance and cutoff. And if I go to the compressor is going to be how much you input to the compressor, so it's going to compress harder, and this one's going to be the speed. If I go all the way down, notice it's just driving the compressor, so it's super fast. If I go all to the other ones, it's going to affect the times. Right? So to the left, much softer compression. To the right, it's super squashed, and we can hear it. It's super squashed. Go all the way down, softer, squashed. Right. Now notice that the effects button has something that says output. So the output stage, if I go to shift and then go right here, is going to say out. And then you can control something with the X and you can control something with the Y. What can you control? Well, if I go right here, it says drive, and then it says speed. So what you get is an additional compressor. This is a master compressor at the end of the chain. So if you think about this, you get the compressor of the effects, and then you get a different compressor, which is going to be, again, a different compressor at the output stage. And in this one, you can compress, but it will compress the whole sound that goes out. All the groups that go out will go through this compressor. And the controls are completely the same than the other compressor. You still got your drive and you still have your speed. So if I maybe go here and I'm maybe gonna go to maybe some of the faders. Let me just get out to main. I'm gonna go to fader. I'm sending from the delay. I just don't want to do this. I'm gonna go all the way down. I made a mistake right there. Oh no, that's fine. I'm gonna go all the way down. So I'm not sending anything, but I will go to shift and go to the out and just drive the compressor. And everything is going to be highly squashed because it's the whole damn, device. All right, so you have something called Punch-In Effects 2.0, and this is 2.0 because it's something that you inherit from the Pocket Operator. If I'm playing something, what you can do, you can press and hold the effects and then press a pad and it will give you an effects. Now the effects are touch sensitive or pressure sensitive, like after touch. So if I press effects, I'm not doing anything. I'm just gonna maybe just go right here and press it. If I press harder, it's gonna affect the pitch. If I release it or do a little bit, it's gonna give us an effects. And notice it says effects right there. Time. It's going to give you kind of a type of bit crusher. And again, they're pressure sensitive. More tremolo. If I press harder, it's going to be more aggressive. Press less harder, it's less aggressive. And just like this, you have different effects. Right here, you have a cutoff, filter. Cool. Yeah. Panning. And so on and so on and so on. Now, as soon as you release the pad, it's going to go back to, default. So this is, again, something that you use for your performance. Okay, so let me show you how sampling works. This is going to be, I'm going to be covering the basics. I will upload a new video expanding on all of this, just sampling from different sources, from a synthesizer, from the DAW, and so on, and so on, and so on. So check the links at the description. If the link is not there, it's because it was not yet uploaded. It's going to be there in a couple of days. So there's two ways that you can sample into this. You have the integrated microphone, right? So you can speak and sample and record right there. Or you can go through the input. This is a stereo jack. You can connect something there and do the sampling. Now in this case, I'm just going to use the microphone. Now first of all, you need to stand on a sound where you have no sounds. In this case, I'm loading an empty project. If I go to, I don't know, maybe this one, I'm going to go to the dot. If I go to this one, there's no sample here. There's nothing. And if I play back, there's nothing. So I'm going to stand on an empty slot. Now to sample, the only thing that you need to do is to press sample. Now, once you do so, it's going to ask you, where do you want to sample? And when you press a button, is going to start sampling. But first, before you do that, you need to choose what you want to do. First is the minus and the plus. This ones will decide the source. Now, if you have something connected at the back on the input, this will recognize it and it will give you more options like the left and the right inputs. And, you know, if you want to record stereo and so on and so on and so on. So you will have more options depending on, you know, what's your source. Now, before we start sampling, you need to set the X and the Y up. So the X is going to be the level of your input, right? So how loud it is. The other thing is, when will you start sampling? You have the threshold. If the threshold it's all the way down, it means that whatever level, when I do this or I do something like this, you know, super soft, it will start recording right away because your threshold is all the way down, right? As soon as it's going to picking up some sound, it will start recording. If you go up on the threshold, it needs to be over a certain level in order to start recording. If I do something soft, it will not start recording. If I do something like this, it will start recording because it's louder. So yeah, you need to set them up. It doesn't matter if you're using a microphone or you're using an input. Once you have your settings right here, the only thing that you need to do is to press the path where you want to record, press and hold, and then, you know, start making sounds and it will just record it. I'm going to do it in 3, 2, 1. And when you stop, again, it's going to go back to the same mode. But this one, notice, is steady. The other ones are not. And it's because the other ones are empty and this one has some sound. So if I go out and play this one, we can hear what I recorded. If you don't like the take, you can go right here to sample and record it again. I'm going to say something to the microphone. And if I go back and play it back, say something to the microphone. And there you go. You have your sample. It's super easy. Now, once you record your sample, you can, you have the other ones. So I can record into other slots. And if I go back, we can audition this. Record into other slots. Well, that one was not that good. Say something to the microphone. And there you go. That's how you sample on this device. Now, by default, when you sample something, it's going to store it on the first empty sample slot it can find. So how do you know this? Well, when you go to sound right here and I go to this one, notice it's storing it on the 34 because that one is empty. So it's putting it there. It's just, finding it, an empty spot and putting it here. If I go to this one, it's going to be 39, then 40, then 41, and then 42 because I did multiple takes. So it's just finding the empty slot and putting it there. So every time that we did a retake, it's not really erasing the sample. It's just allocating the new sample into a new slot, which is maybe something that you don't want to do. Now, if you sampled something and you want to delete it because it was no good and you don't want to occupy a slot for that recording, you can delete it. The only thing that you need to know and make sure is that this is destructive. Once you delete it, it's not that you're just removing it from the slot, you're just removing it for good, right? There's no going back. So when you're standing on the sample and you stand on the sound mode, you can go to erase and then do sound, and it's gonna sound, kaboom, delete it. So if I go here, right, we don't get it anymore. So it's gonna remove it from the device. So what if you want to decide first where you want to hold the sample? In this case, is again putting it on whatever empty slot it can find. So, well, you can decide where you want to put it. If I maybe go to, I don't know, the sample 705, I know that that one is empty. So I can go to sound, just press and hold, and I'm going to do 705. And I'm standing on this pad. So once I release it, notice that this is blinking. So if I now go to sample and, start the sampling, it will store it on the 705. I'm recording on the 705. If I go back to sound, I can see that the 705. I'm recording on the 705. Right, and we get the sample. On the 705. And that slot. And this is a little bit better because you can choose where to put it. Right now, it's just putting it on the drums, for example, on the 0 to 100. Now, remember, I will expand sampling and you using the input and everything else on a different video. Check the links at the description. And okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you is going to be the chop. You can chop a sample into multiple pads. Now for this, I've uploaded to this device a free sample that comes on YouTube, that YouTube gives you, which is royalty free. And if I've allocated the sample to this 700 slot, it is like a 15 seconds. You can upload up to 20 seconds in terms of a sample. If I play this is my sample. Right. So what I want to do right here is take this sample and chop it to multiple slots. So on this slot, I have this sample that I want to chop. The only thing you need to do is to do shift and then sample. And it's really quick. As soon as you do it, it will start playback of that sample, and you need to do manually chop it. And you need to press and hold until you go to the next chop. And I'm going to do it in 3, 2, 1. Pretty long sample. So if I go to main, it doesn't matter. When I play now, we can hear the chops. Alright, so this is how you chop it into, multiple chops. Now I'm going to do it again and show you something else. I'm going to do the chopping. Alright, so once you're done, this is done chopping, the X and the Y can control different params of whatever chops that you have. So if I go to this one, if I go to the X and the Y, I can adjust the starting and the ending of the sample. So if I go all the way down and all the way up, is pretty much the whole sample. But again, right here, you can audition whatever it is that you're adjusting. In this case, I'm going to go all the way to the beginning, and I'm going to make it maybe shorter. That is just much shorter. If I go here, it will give you different values. This is when this chop starts and ends. And you can see the values starting and ending right here. And again, you can just adjust it. If you do shift and you press and hold, you can fine tune the X and the Y right here. Alright, so that's it. You just shift sample, you do the chops, and then you just adjust your chops. Now, there's a different way to do this. You have the auto chop, which means that the K.O II will do it for you. It will listen to the transients and do the chopping. And how do you do it? Well, when you do shift and sample, you just tap the group, and it will generate the chops for you. And if I play them, notice that we get them. And at the top, it's telling you how many chops it did. In this case, it's 12. Now, of course, since this is a very long sample, the chop number 12, it's pretty long. But the first ones, are not. Still, this still works with the X and Y. You can maybe go to this sample and adjust the length of this and just make it much shorter. Right? Or just make it super long to play the rest of the sample. Now, one more thing that you get with, the manual chopping or the auto chopping is that by doing minus or doing plus, you can trim the amount of chops. In this case, we have the maximum that you can do, which is 12. Now, if I keep going down, it's going to, adjust all the different chops so you can have less chops. But now, of course, all the different chops are going to change a little bit. In this case, this one is going to be really long, right? And if you want more chops, well, to do the same thing, you can go up and it will give you all the different chops. Okay, so this is pretty much all you need to create really cool beats with this device. Now remember to check the links at the description or the cards to find other videos I will be uploading where I'm going to be expanding some parts of this device, like the importing and exporting sounds with the app and how the app works, maybe sampling, and I guess I'm going to be creating for the sound in the MIDI tracks. Maybe I'm going to be using or pairing it with a DAW or different synthesizers, just to give you, just to expand it and give you more examples. Now, if you liked all of this and you learned something new, please like and subscribe. This channel is supported by viewers, not brands. So if you want to buy me a coffee and help the channel keep going on, you can. You have links at the description for PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.